Welcome to the Vol Bros, presented by the Ooltewah Club. My name is Evan. This is my brother Rustin, and we are two Vol Bros who are actually bros in real life. And as always, we are certainly appreciative of the Ooltewah Club. A wonderful place. We will be there tomorrow. Very excited about that. It's like the one day that we can golf in the whole month of January, apparently, because it's just going to be freezing all month long. And that's going to continue next week as well. So we're happy to be able to get out there tomorrow. If you're there, say hey to us. But we appreciate you joining in with us tonight. Obviously, two big games back to back days by the men's and women's team. We're going to go in chronological order. So, Rustin, what did you think about the men's victory last night?
Well, I was very happy to see. We talked about in the last time three things they could do to really start um, getting other people involved in the offense. And number one was running a lot more motion. And early in the game, it looked like they clearly made a decision as a coaching staff that was going to become priority. Um, they missed some shots, but they were sharing the ball. People were moving. Everybody was getting involved. Jemai Mashak scores the first basket. Um, Igor scores the second basket. The third one was, I think, Akpara. The fourth one was Jordan Gainey. They were sharing the ball and getting everybody involved early. And probably the thing I liked the most was it was a lot of movement. They were running a lot of 4-out, 1-in motion. We talked about the Iverson cut. They ran it one time, and it was off of an inbounds play, and it got Cade Phillips an alley-oop dunk off a back screen. So they ran the Iverson cut like we talked about, and Chaz actually was the one circling behind. But instead of circling behind, he came up and set a back screen on Cade Phillips' guy. And so Cade rolled to the basket and had a wide open alley oop. It was a really nice design off the inbounds, but it was the cut we talked about using more. Um, so it was good to see. They had a couple of possessions where they intentionally posted up Igor. I still want to see that more. Especially one of them, he caught it, made a gorgeous behind the back pass to Jemai for a layup. Jemai read it, went back door. Igor couldn't get it to him the conventional way and threw an absolutely gorgeous behind the back pass. That's the skill set he has. He can do that. He's a great passer, and I want to see him get the ball within 3 feet of the basket more often because I think it makes everybody better.
We said Thursday night. No, wait, Sunday night. We said Sunday night that we would know this week would show us if Rick Barnes and his staff watches the Vol Bros, because if they did some of the stuff that you had mentioned, then it'd be confirmation that they do watch our show. And they did that. They also ran a 1-4 high set a few times down the court. So they ran it. You mentioned one point they could have a 1-4 high set and bring both bigs out to set a screen on either side of the point guard. They did that one time. That led to a Cade Phillips dunk as well. So, Rick, we know you're watching. Appreciate you, man. You're the man. You are a fantastic coach, and we're thankful you're at Tennessee. So, with that being said, my takeaways from last night were: how fun is it to see Zakai Ziegler enjoying what he's doing?
Mm-hmm.
That is, he's just a lovable guy, and the smile on his face after he hit that third consecutive three, he was like a kid in a candy store, just having fun. I mean, that's what basketball is supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun. And he was just absolutely having the time of his life. And so that was the best part of the whole. I mean, obviously the second half, Tennessee just took over the game, specifically Zakai, but Jordan Gainey had a phenomenal game as well.
He did.
It was that second half was a lot of fun to watch. And man, Zakai was feeling it. He was feeling it. Some of the comments coming through. Kevin said, "Let's go, Vol Bros and community. Thank you, Ooltewah Club." Totally agree. He said, "Hit that like, subscribe, and share." Amen. Absolutely. That'd be awesome. Mina Lackey, we're glad you're here. She said, "Good evening, everybody." Matt, welcome, buddy. Fellow Chattanoogan there. Good to have you, Matt. Glad you're with us. Let's see. Kevin said, been a big day and everyone's already headed to bed, so I get to watch on the big screen tonight. Hey, that's what I'm that's what I'm talking about. Vol Bros in high def. That's what I'm talking about. Let's see here. Mississippi Vol, welcome, buddy. Good to have you. So, what a great couple days for basketball on the hill. Absolutely. Like he said, 9 degrees is not acceptable.
Ever.
Oh, you're about how cold. I was going to say how cold it is. Yeah. So next week is going to be ridiculously cold. I think between Monday and Wednesday, it's not supposed to get above freezing. Like the high is sub-freezing temperatures. That's not fun. That is not fun. Sanders, welcome. Good to have you. She said, I agree, Rustin. I love how nobody was standing around. Everybody was moving. Absolutely. SEC football, glad you're with us. He said, hey, Vol Bros, good to see you on this good night. Vol spanked those dogs. Yeah, I mean, it was a great win tonight. We're about to talk about that here in just a second. Jonathan, great to have you. Glad you're with us. Kevin said, Rustin, I don't know if the men are running more plan/practice plays or if I'm just barely starting to understand what to look for based on what you guys are sharing, but they seem more intentional. I mean, I can certainly see that based on, last night.
So against Texas, they were running a lot of quick hitters for Chaz. Last night, they were running a lot more continuity motion, everybody moving, everybody involved. They ran a few specific quick hitters, and they should. Like that's we need to get Chaz touches, and he needs to shoot himself out of this slump. Ron Slay made a fantastic point after the Texas game, and it actually happened during the Georgia game. He made the point that, who are our best offensive rebounders? Felix Okpara and Igor Milicic and Cade Phillips. Like, they attack the rack well. They can go finish. They get tip dunks. They attack the basket with a vengeance when they go for an offensive rebound. Typically, they're the ones setting the last screen for Chaz. And so their defender has to really step up and help on Chaz. Everybody else is boxing out their guys. So that means there's nobody to box out Cade, Felix, Igor, whoever that last screener is for Chaz. So a lot of times it's not even so much that he's making the shot as it is if he's just taking the shot, he's immediately making one of those bigs who love to rim run a threat. And we actually saw it play out live against Georgia. He came off a screen from Felix, took a jumper. Felix's guy stepped up and double teamed him. Nobody boxed out Felix. And we got a highlight reel tip dunk where Felix came down the middle of the lane and caught it and just hammer dunked it off the rebound. People will look at that and go, man, really glad Felix hustled and made up for Chaz's missed shot. But the reality is they want Chaz to take that shot because option number 2 is that tip dunk for Felix. And so, they sometimes being selfish and taking those shots can be a positive for everybody. But I thought against Georgia, they did a much better job of mixing up lots of motion, lots of involvement with the occasional quick hitter to get Chaz going. And it was interesting. The only 2 shots he made all night were transition shots where he wasn't thinking, he was just catching and shooting. So maybe they need to run more motion and do less of trying to get him quick hitters and let him just play within the flow of what everybody else is doing. It might mean he ends up shooting his way out of this slump.
Absolutely. Another comment coming through. SC Football said, is Rick Barnes really watching? Well, I mean, I can neither confirm nor deny, but it sounds to me like he is. That's my opinion. I know Rick sets his clock. He's got an alarm reminder on his iPhone. It goes off and tells him, ooh, it's Vol Bros time. Let's see. Rhonda, welcome. Good to have you. She said, "Hey, Vol Bros and chat family." I say it's great to be a Tennessee Vol. Absolutely, it is. Absolutely. Let's see here. Minalagi agrees. He was watching. Let's see. Jonathan said he thinks last night could have been Cade Phillips' best game. You just got to love the dude, how much he hustles and how aggressive he is. He looks to score. Like you gotta love how he plays the game.
He never saw a rim he didn't want to tear off the backboard. That dude attacks the rim with authority. Like he wants to do damage.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Ron said it was kind of weird to have Kelly Harper on the SEC Network talking about our game tonight. I agree.
It was.
I feel bad for her having to do that.
Well, what was even weirder, I don't know if you caught it. So Nikki Caldwell, who's now Nikki Fargas, she's normally in the studio. And her partner at the game made the comment, "It's so great to have you out live with us tonight." And she kind of hinted that she was supposed to be in the studio, which makes me wonder, did they have Kelly scheduled to be the color commentator?
Yeah, I wondered that too.
And
And surely somebody thought better. Like,
well,
surely.
I'm wondering if Nikki Fargas thought better, and she was like, "This is crazy. I'll go. Let her stay back in the studio. That should
Yeah.
not happen." Um,
Yeah. I agree. Kevin said, yes, on Chaz continuing to shoot, but dang, did everyone pick it up against Georgia? 100%. Absolutely. Kevin said, whatever they were doing, Chaz got some good looks. He sure did. He sure did. Hit two of them.
he did.
Needs to be way more, but he did hit two shots. He's slowly coming out of that slump, hopefully. Rhonda said, wouldn't it be great to have Zakai stay and help coach? I would love that. I don't think he'll be playing professional basketball just due to his size. So I would love if he would stay.
I don't know. If you had asked me last year if that would happen, I would say no, he's too small. But there's guys in the NBA right now that aren't very good and definitely aren't as good as him that are just slightly larger. And the one that's really stood out to me is, I don't know if you've been following Josiah, but Josiah Jordan James is tearing it up in the G League. And he's on like the Pacers. He's on the Pacers G League team, but he's on their kind of eyesight list of, if anybody goes down, that dude's coming up with us. I never would have fathomed that Josiah would play the way he is in the pros right now. And it makes me wonder, is Rick doing so much developmentally that these guys are just physically better at the game than everybody else, to the point that their skills are actually overcoming their deficiencies? I never would have imagined that Josiah would be doing what he's doing in the G League. And he's tearing it up. So I don't know. I could see, I don't think he's getting drafted, but I could see him going in the G League and somebody goes, "This is crazy. We can't keep this guy in the G League. We've got to bring him up. He's too active. He does too much. He makes too many people better." And the whole NBA has become a pick and roll league, and Zakai is really, really good off the pick and roll. So I'm gonna be curious to see what happens. I don't think he'll get drafted by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he might play his way into the NBA.
Mississippi Vol said, I tell you what, guys or ladies are so fun to watch. I'm already highly anticipating Sunday's game in Nashville. Those purple highlights they wear once a year look great, and it's for a great cause too. Yeah, they are fun to watch. I mean, there's no doubt about that. They are a lot of fun to watch. And, that's one thing that I'm sure has to be bittersweet for Kelly as she's watching this. Working for SEC Network. Does she feel like I couldn't get it done? I mean, like, you got to feel bad for her as she's watching.
It would be impossible not to. I will say she has to kind of be watching it. I mean, Talasia Cooper was her sonny, but if you look at who our best players are, it's not any of the returners. So she has to be kind of watching it going, yeah, we really struggled with recruiting. I mean, it's not other than Talasia Cooper, there's nobody that was one of her players that's significantly contributing.
Jonathan said, "Congrats to Zakai for getting the steals record. Absolutely, new all-time history of Tennessee basketball. No one has more steals than Zakai Ziegler now. What an incredible stat to hold. I mean, that is awesome. As Dick Vitale said, that's awesome with a capital A." Chris, welcome, buddy. Good to have you. He said, "For Chaz to have his worst career game and still win by 18 shows how good this team is." Totally agree. Fantastic point. Let's see. I would say it's Chaz's second worst career game. I think his worst was the one before that. I don't think he has hit a single shot the game before that. Kevin said, also, it seems like the screens give Felix and Cade Phillips great cuts to the basket 100%. Yes. That looks like the plan when Zakai's driving around the screen and defense collapses to stop it. Absolutely. Defense rotates to him. He throws an alley-oop to one of those two guys. I mean, it is extremely effective for sure. For sure. Mississippi Vol agreed about Kelly. He said, he knows she had a lot of mixed emotions there for sure. For sure. Sanders said that she's ready to see how they do against Texas and South Carolina. Yeah, I mean, those games are coming. Those games are coming. And UConn, they're coming too. Let's see.
Tell you, South Carolina has been very up and down. They've looked great against some teams, and against other teams, they've looked very average.
SEC football said it was kind of awkward having Kelly, comment, and Rhonda said her heart broke for her. Mine did too. I felt bad for her because she feels the pressure of that on national television, knowing that I couldn't do what Kim Caldwell's doing now with this group. I mean, that's rough, man. Rhonda said, Josiah Jordan James has a heart like a lion and gives it everything he has. Zakai would do the same. That's a great point. Kevin said he'd like to see Zakai get at least a couple of years in the pros, then come back to the Hill and pour in young men. His kind of passion is contagious. Yeah, I'd love to see him go to the pros too. He might be able to. He could definitely play overseas if he wanted to. Like Rustin said, he could probably make it in the G League, but I just don't know if his size allows him to make it to the NBA or not. Jonathan said, do you think Zakai gets his jersey retired? I don't think so. I just don't think he's scored enough points, honestly, to deserve that. SC Football said, how does this honestly feel for Kelly Harper? I'm curious to know, is she mad they're winning or happy? And honestly, if I had to guess, I'd say it's probably a combination of both. And that's an odd feeling for her too, to try to process through that,
At the end of the day,
still Lady Ball. Like, she loves the Lady Balls.
Yeah. When you listen to Nikki Fargas talk tonight during the game about all the traditions that surround being a Lady Ball and how they have, all these different things that they're all a part of still. At the end of the day, that's Kelly through and through. And, she's always going to be happy for Tennessee.
Yeah. Mississippi Vol said, I love Kelly, always will. She will always be one of us. But what Coach Kim has done thus far, her coaching style and recruiting have shown that she has what it takes to make us a real force. And I 100% agree with that. I think that's
I tweeted it out today. You talk about recruiting. She's got 5 signees in this class. All 5 of them got nominated for McDonald's All-American. That's unreal. That hasn't happened at Tennessee in a long time.
Yep. Let's see. Kevin said, in a Lady Vols game, you need to keep watching. If you go to the kitchen and grab something, you come back and you've missed a 12-4 run. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You are 100% correct. That's a good point, Kevin. Sanders said if the Lady Vols can beat Texas at Texas, that would be huge. Oh, no doubt. It's top 5 team.
Yeah.
That would be big time game. Apparently I can't talk.
Well, not only would it be huge to get that win, it would also probably be without Kim. So, that would make it even bigger.
Yep. Like you said, Zakai wears Chris Lofton's number 5, which is already retired, sort of. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. So that's true. Was it Zakai's sophomore or senior or junior year? Sophomore or junior, one of the two. They retired Lofton's jersey, and he agreed to allow Zakai to continue wearing it. So after Zakai's done with it, it's never being put on another jersey ever again for Tennessee basketball. Brennan said, "Go Vols!" Absolutely, absolutely, man. Austin, welcome, buddy. Good to have you. Brennan, good to have you too, man. Austin said, if you include one SEC tourney name and one NCAA tourney game, Zakai will need 7.5 assists a game to break the all-time assist record. Could need less if we make a few runs. That's certainly possible.
And his next comment there, if he's the all-time assist and steals leader, he may get it retired. I agree. That's two pretty impressive records. Well, I wonder what they would do with that, because it does kind of look odd. We retired number 5, then we retired it again.
Yeah.
Do you put one number 5 and put both their names on it with a slash down the middle?
5A or 5B. Mm-hmm. Yeah. SC Football said, I remember Pat Summitt raising that national championship trophy in 2008. I was 7. That was my first time watching basketball. That's cool. That's a cool memory. That is a cool memory. Shortly thereafter was when she had that photo taken with all the championship trophies lined up in front of her. That's cool. That's a cool photo. Sandra said, did you all see Zakai and Jahmai press conference after the game? I have not yet. Yeah, I heard what Rick said, but I haven't seen what the players said yet.
It was exactly what you would expect from two senior leaders. They handled themselves extremely well and did a really good job fielding questions and talking about how hard Rick is on them and what the expectations are, and they both did an excellent job.
Rhonda said, that's funny. I'm sure you're not, Rhonda. I'm sure you're not. Like you said, yeah, we could have 2 number 5 jerseys in the rafters. Brennan said, if you had to pick a number 5 to retire, who would you pick? Either Lofton or Zakai. I mean, I'm going to pick Lofton. Who are you taking?
Yeah, Chris Lofton.
I mean, dude's one of the best shooters in certainly Tennessee basketball history. I mean, you could put him and DK up there, and now maybe Chaz if he turns it around. But, I mean, not just Tennessee history, one of the best shooters ever in the game. So, you got, in my opinion, you got to go with Lofton. Like you said, she picks Zakai. He's certainly beloved by Rick Barnes and his teammates. I love that Rick Barnes called him as a security blanket or whatever. That was great. Let's see. Jonathan asked a great question. He said, with the NCAA talking about expanding rosters in all sports, what does that do to NIL budgets? Now, I do want to read something. We weren't going to mention this, but I'm going to mention it after all. And I'm going to make a point that Rustin made as we were talking about this, and I think it's a great point. And this will kind of be all we say about this. But Ross Dellinger, he said tonight, significant news out of the U.S. Department of Education today, which classifies future revenue distributions from a school to an athlete for his or her NIL rights as financial assistance, which must be made proportionately available to male and female athletes or risk violating Title IX. Now, immediately everybody started saying, no, wait a second. So these, like the kid that just got the $12 million deal to go be the quarterback at Michigan. So, somehow Michigan's going to have to provide that much money to female athletes as well. That sounds great and all. It sounds great, but they're overlooking one very important thing that Rustin brought up as we were talking about this a minute ago, and he's exactly right. Technically speaking, the university is not supposed to have anything to do with NIL distributions. That is supposed to be from the collective at each university associated with it or representing the university. So, for example, Spire Sports and the Vol Club, they would be representing the University of Tennessee. I'm assuming the Boost Her Club, as a part of the University of Tennessee, would be representing them as well. They're not.
They represent the players. They are not, by law, they are not supposed to be connected to the university in any way. So if a basketball player at UT Martin wanted to run all of his NIL money through Spire Sports, he can do that because the Vol Club and Spire Sports are not technically part of the University of Tennessee. If Nico decided tomorrow to transfer out and go to Wyoming, he could take all of his NIL money with him and continue to funnel it through Spire Sports because they represent the player, not the university. So for the Department of Ed to say it's a violation of Title IX for them to not have equal NIL is complete lunacy because the university can't control it. And number two, the collectives don't represent the universities. And number
And their
three,
financials are not supposed to be connected.
And number three, you can't tell a company what they're going to spend their marketing dollars on. So if Pilot wants to give Zakai Ziegler $18 million a year to be on every billboard across the state of Tennessee, the Department of Education can't tell them they can't. And they can't tell the university, you've got to provide $18 million for all the women's teams because Zakai got 18 from Pilot. Like this is the Department of Education who knows that they're not going to exist much longer, waving their hands, going, "Hey, look at us! Remember us? We're still here." Yeah, this is a very poor attempt to try to be relevant, and they had no idea what they were talking about.
Kevin said, "Seems like that statement by the Department of Education wouldn't stand up to judicial scrutiny." That is correct. Yes. In regards to which number 5 would you retire, Rhonda said both. Sandra said in the post-game presser,
and vice versa. You know, Tess Darby has an NIL deal with Weigels right now. If Weigels decided tomorrow they're going to be the official NIL partner of the Lady Vols, no one can force them or the University of Tennessee to equal that out on the men's side. Like, that's Weigel's decision with their marketing dollars to do whatever they want to do.
For sure. Sandra said, Jemai said he feels some type of way about people thinking he's not an offensive player. I did see that clip on Twitter. He said he's not going to start forcing shots to prove that he is, but he is. Let's see. Mississippi Vol, I think, made the best point about the which number 5. He said, as far as number 5 concerned, I would go with Chris Lofton. However, I wouldn't begrudge anyone for whomever they selected in that situation. I 100% agree. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Look at SEC football's comment right after that.
Well, he said he admitted he was too young to watch. So he was very good. Absolutely. Chris Lofton was one of the best shooters in the history of Tennessee basketball.
But to the comment about how old someone was, I was too young to watch him. Like, I feel like Chris Lofton was here like 5 years ago. I was too young to watch him. Holy cow.
Yeah, we feel old. That's true. But yeah, he just phenomenal player, phenomenal work ethic. I think that's probably the biggest thing about Chris Lofton is his work ethic. But still to this day, my favorite Chris Lofton story or quote, whatever you want to call it, came from Dane Bradshaw. Dane was talking about, somebody asked Dane, they said, "Hey, Dane, what was it like to play with Chris Lofton?" And he said, "Oh, that's an easy question. Here's what it was like. Hey, Chris, pass me the ball. I'm open. Hey, Chris, pass me. Nice shot, Chris." To this day, that is my favorite story about Chris Lofton. That is so good. So good. Let's see. Let's see. Rhonda said, Rustin, you'd be awesome on the committee to help these people understand. You have common sense about the whole NIL thing. Kevin said, even if Sakai's jersey isn't retired, isn't he who lots of folks will see synonymous with these 4 seasons of Rick Barnes teams? 100% yes. Fantastic point. So TJ Ford, right? Like you think about Rick Barnes at Texas, you obviously think of Kevin Durant, but honestly, the guy you might think of before that's Ford. The famous video of Rick coming to watch him graduate after he came back to finish his degree, and Ford's in tears and just talking about how much Rick meant to him. That's the guy you think of when you think of Rick Barnes Texas teams. Zakai is the guy you think of when you think of Tennessee's teams.
And those 2 guys you just mentioned, Rick Barnes never called either one of them his security blanket.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
This is the relationship between he and Zakai is pretty incredible to watch.
I agree. Tony, welcome, buddy. Good to have you. He made a great point. He said, all I know is this wasn't what NIL was supposed to be. It's already getting out of hand. It's going to get worse. It's simply pay for play. Yeah, you're 100% right. No doubt. Matt said, we don't feel old, y'all. We are old. I love it. That's good. Kevin said exactly what I thought immediately. Let's see. Tony said, unlimited transfer is ridiculous too. Oh, I 100% agree with that. 100% agree. And Carl said, very true story about, Dane Bradshaw, what he said about Chris Lofton. Chris, I'm open. Chris, nice shot, Chris. Oh man, that's great. Dalton Connect fan said, what's up, Vol Bros? It's good to see you, buddy. And Sanders asked, did you watch the Lady Vols game? We sure did, and that's where we're going to turn our attention now. We've talked about the men's game. Rustin, what were your takeaways from tonight's Lady Vols victory over Mississippi State?
It's such a weird thing now. I thought they didn't play well, but they still won by 14 and scored 86 points. So it's fascinating that we can have off nights and still score 86. I shouldn't say I didn't think they played well. I thought they played well in short spurts. There was a lot of sloppiness.
I agree with that.
It got real turnover happy between both teams and kind of started getting ugly at times. Offensively, at times we looked very disjointed. I thought we did a pretty good job attacking the rim when the opportunities presented themselves, but we didn't finish. I can't tell you how many layups I lost count, how many layups we missed. It probably would have scored 96 if we had hit our layups. Kudos to Mississippi State. They're scrappy. They're not very good, but they get everything they've got out of what they have. They're gonna surprise some people, but it's amazing. We just slowly, methodically wear people down, and then all of a sudden you look up and it's like somebody said. I mean, I think we scored 7 points in the final 20-something seconds of the first half. You look away for a second, and all of a sudden it's like, wait, how did we get up by 11? It's a weird thing. We're doing a better job defensively at times, but we still struggle with some defensive rotations. I love Tess Darby on offense. Holy cow, she's awful on defense. Tess Darby is a layup waiting to happen. I couldn't count how many people tonight just blew right by her to get to the rim and get an easy layup. And they know it. Like, as soon as they catch the ball with her on it, they're lowering their head and going because they know she can't guard anybody. They're going to have to figure that out. They're going to have to either put her on the front of the press so that she's just applying pressure and trapping people and doesn't have to guard anybody one-on-one in the open court. But outside of her, it's fun to watch. They're so athletic. They fly around. It's going to be interesting to see this next 5-game stretch. It's a tough stretch. And if Kim Caldwell's done for a while, it's going to be even more interesting to see how these 5 games go. But technically, the veteran leadership is there. Sam Spencer, Jewel Spear, those girls can go get it done. So it'll be interesting to see how they do over the next 5 games.
Yeah, so I agree with you about playing well in spurts. I think that was a great point. They started well. I'm going to say this: it is 100% obvious that their success as a team is in direct correlation to their aggressiveness as they full court press. They started the game off, they were not very aggressive. They were moving slow. Even on offense, they were moving slowly. The whole team. There was very little movement by any of them. And that resulted in, I think this was the first quarter tonight was the first quarter in the last 8 games, I think it was, where they did not score at least 20 points in a quarter.
Yep.
And there seemed like there was no sense of urgency. They were, they're just moving slowly on both ends of the court. That changed in the second quarter, and they started getting aggressive on the press. They started moving the ball more, becoming more active on both ends of the court, and it resulted in points. My goodness, you look at the last minute of the second quarter, that was the difference in the game, essentially, when they hit those 3 straight threes, and that was a result of steals on the press. That ended up being the difference in the game, that 1 minute right there. So I think that, Samara Spencer said it after the game too, in her post-game press conference on SEC Network. She said that our defense fuels our offense, and they now have 2 very obvious examples of that. Go back to the fourth quarter against Oklahoma and the times tonight when they were playing really hard on defense. That's when they made their runs, because they would get turnovers and they would convert those turnovers to points. So I think that you can look at this team, and when they play defense the way Kim wants them to play defense, they're going to score a bunch of points. And so hopefully that they take that and continue to apply it as we move towards the postseason.
So a couple of interesting stats. I was just looking at it. Points off turnovers, they had 30 points off turnovers. But here's the only concerning one, and I think this is something they can solve, but they got to solve it. I said we missed a lot of layups. We were 8 of 19 on layups. We missed 11 layups. If they only hit 5 of those, and again, 13 of 19 is not great on layups, but it's better than 8 of 19. If they hit 5 of those, it's 96-73, and we just won by 23 points. So they've got to start finishing. They've got to make sure those are going down. We actually, this is kind of a weird stat. We shot 46% from 3, but only 44% from the floor.
That's bizarre.
So we actually, our 3-point shooting actually raised our field goal percentage.
That never, ever happens, ever, anywhere, ever. And we were the beneficiaries of Mississippi State missing a whole lot of layups too.
Yeah.
So,
but they're not very good. Like, they should miss layups. They're just not. They play hard and they're well coached, but skill wise, they're just not very good.
But you can't. But hey, the Lady Vols are now what, 14-2? Is that right?
15-3.
The Lady Vols have lost 3 games. I thought they've only lost 2 games.
Oh no, I'm sorry, 15-2.
Mississippi State's 15-3. Yeah.
Yeah, we're 15-2.
So we're 15-2. So it's hard to argue with results, though, right? She gets them to play well, and no joke. It's one of the funnest Lady Vols teams to watch play in years, just because, like Kevin said earlier, you can't look away. You look away for a minute, and you've missed 3 baskets on either end of the floor. I mean, it's just they go up and down the court so fast, take tons of shots. It's fun. It's fun to watch. It's absolutely fun to watch.
But in these next 5 games, they can't miss 11 layups.
That's exactly right. They got some tough
Those
competition.
gimmies have to happen.
So just so everybody knows what Rustin's talking about, the next 5 games for the Lady Vols. This Sunday they play at Vanderbilt. Then on next Thursday, a week from tonight, they play at Texas. That's a top 5 matchup. Then the following Monday, they host South Carolina, top 5 matchup. Then 6 days later, February 2nd, they play at Missouri. And then 4 days after that, for Thursday, February 6th, they host UConn. And the game right after that, they go to LSU. So the next 6 games,
who is currently undefeated.
I mean, you got 3 top 5 maybe 4 top 5 matchups in the next 6 games. I mean, that's tough. It's a tough stretch, and your coach may not be there. Tony asked, was tonight Kim's last night for a while, getting close to her due date? So her due date is Monday, January 20th. And based on what somebody said on our last show. So, I mean, I wonder. I mean, like, when you got to wonder. So we'll see what happens. Jonathan said, what do y'all think of the new proposed rule for change for fake injuries? So I was actually very much in support of this. Just so everybody knows what Jonathan was referring to, even coaches are now promoting this as a rule change. And it's the rule that everybody's been saying that should have happened a long time ago. It's the simplest and most effective way to eliminate fake injuries. Essentially, the proposal is if a person gets injured on a possession, they have to sit out the remainder of that possession. If you want them to re-enter the game during that possession, you have to use a timeout to allow them to re-enter the game. That's the best plan. Like, they should do it 100%.
Yeah. I think the biggest issue is going to be how are they going to enforce it. Some official is going to have to be dedicated to be the sideline monitor for both teams. And that's anytime we start getting into regulations and referees, something's always going to happen.
Kevin said, do you guys think some of the streakiness changes with the lineup changes? Maybe. I think a lot of it's based off of how they're playing defense and how they're pressuring the ball and getting turnovers.
Again, 11 missed layups. Like, what if they hit 8 of those? Now all of a sudden we broke 100 and beat them by 30.
Yep.
You gotta make layups. You can't, at this level of basketball in the SEC, especially. My goodness, I think SEC officials have a training program where they learn you have 2 calls you can make. You can call a charge, and it better be extremely dramatic when you do it, and you can call a walk. The taller African-American official with the long black hair, I lost count. She had to have called 10 travels tonight during that game, and 9 of them worked.
Yeah,
there was
exactly.
only 1 that was actually a travel.
Yeah, poor Sarah Puckett. They were like picking on her, man.
I mean, it was bad both ways. I won't in any way say it was against the Lady Vols. There were several times she called it on Mississippi State, and it's like, do you even know what a travel is? Like, that's not even remotely close.
And then the charge that they called on the biggest player for South Carolina when she ran into Samara Spencer. Samara Spencer was clearly moving, like she was slid over to the right. Her. And they called a charge just because the other girl was like way bigger than Samara. But I was like, man, oh man.
It is unbelievable. Oh yeah. It's unbelievable how bad they are, and they just don't ever get better. And it's every year. It never changes.
So you knew it was going to be bad when the opening tip off, the girl for Mississippi State caught the tip, like the girl who's supposed to be tipping it, caught the ball
Mm-hmm.
and passed it to her teammate, and only one official saw it. I was like,
Yeah.
uh,
And then I don't know if you noticed, she had to explain to the guy that tossed it what happened. Like, he's
oh
standing right
gosh.
there and didn't notice.
Yeah, that
It's
was,
like,
yeah, that's like an easy one. I mean, everybody should have seen that, but one official blew her whistle. I was like, yikes. Sanders said, I love how they cut down the transition points. Mississippi State didn't get too many of them.
mhm,
You're right. I mean, and actually, Sam Spencer mentioned that in her post game press conference. She said that was a point of emphasis
yeah.
for them, was that they were going to make sure they got back in transition.
Yeah, they're doing better in transition. Their biggest issue is defensive rotation in the half court. They're doing a better job stopping the ball, but then once they get in the half court, they're not doing a great job helping each other.
Matt said, all my family is from Mississippi, so Hail State. I'm born and raised a Tennessee Mountain boy, though. Go Vols, baby. He said, also said, Kim Caldwell kind of scares me. I like being scared. Kevin makes a great point. He said, you shouldn't be bored watching the Lady Vols. Tony, when we mentioned that 6-game stretch that the Lady Vols have to enter now, he said he predicts 2 and 4 out of the next 6 games. I think that's very fair. I mean,
honestly, I'd take it.
Yeah, sure.
You know, it's going to be a tough stretch, and without your head coach against the level of competition they're going to face, if they get 2 of those 6, I'll be happy with it.
Kevin liked your extremely dramatic training of the officials.
I mean, have you seen them make a charge call that wasn't? Like, every time they call a charge, it is like, I got to make sure everybody in the stadium sees this. Like, this is my time to shine, and so I'm gonna make this as elaborate as humanly possible.
Matt has a very creative way of handling the injury situation. Personally, I like the rule that's been proposed, because that's what you and I have been saying for over a year, is just
Yep.
make them sit out the possession. But he said, no, here's what you do. You just get a side by side with a skid behind it, and you run out there, put them on it, and run them off in 20 seconds max. There you go. That works too, I guess. Sam, welcome, buddy. He said, the problem I have with the officiating is calls aren't consistent. Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. Like
in the women's game, I think that's the understatement of the year. My issue isn't that they aren't consistent. My issue is that typically not even right. That's the bigger issue.
Yeah. Yep. But I mean, you got to be happy for the Lady Vols as you look back over the tonight and last night. Both teams, men and women, both come away with victories, double-digit victories. The men totally dominated in the second half yesterday. The Lady Vols dominated in spurts tonight. They played very well at times, and you know, you can't. Nobody can look at either team right now and say, "Man, they're just not playing well," or be disappointed in their record at this point in the season, because both teams are tearing it up. I mean, who would have thought the Lady Vols would be sitting at number 15 in the country, and their only 2 losses would have been to 2 top 10 teams by a total of 3 points? Who would have thought that before the season? If anybody had said that to any Tennessee fan, they'd been like, yes, I will gladly take that. So nobody can be upset with either team right now, honestly, as far as like overall performance, because they're playing really well. Keg, welcome, buddy. We're glad you're with us. Once again, to echo what somebody had said earlier, congrats to Zakai Ziegler. Rick, we know you're watching, so tell him congrats for us. But we thrilled for Zakai breaking the all-time steals record. That's just awesome, man. It's awesome. Rustin, any last thoughts before we sign off for the evening?
Just one weirdness that happened today that I could not believe when I heard it.
Oh, that's something else we got to talk about too.
Ben McKee mentioned on the Swain event this morning, Tennessee may not have their baseball uniforms for their opener.
Oh my gosh.
They had to do media day in last year's uniforms because Nike has not finished their uniforms. They've known for over a year that they were changing out their uniforms, and they aren't sure that they're going to be here by February 14th for the opener.
Matt just
So they
said,
did their media day in last year's uniforms because they don't have any uniforms.
so Matt just expressed my sentiments exactly. What? This is
Yeah.
the national champion Division I baseball team, and Nike can't get their uniforms here on time. That's like some little league stuff.
Who you've known for over a year. You were doing this because Nike announced that they were replacing all their uniforms for the 25 season. So Nike, announced publicly that you're bringing in all new stuff and you're going to re-outfit them and it's going to be so cool. And now they're not here and they had to do media day in last year's uniforms.
Carl said, meanwhile, Oregon has like 150 uniforms. Yeah, great point, Carl. Yeah, somebody better be getting on an overnight shipment from Oregon to here from Nike headquarters.
He said that Tennessee has been preparing their players to be in last year's uniforms on opening day because they don't think they're going to get here in time.
Man, that is crazy. Kevin took the words out of my mouth. That's bizarre. Absolutely, it's bizarre. Matt said it's unacceptable. Totally agree. Sanders said, "Whose fault is that?" And it sounds like it's Nike's.
It's Nike. They've been very blunt about it's Nike's fault.
Jonathan said, "That's insane that you can't get the team their uniforms." And I agree totally. Mississippi Ball said, "I heard that too, Russ. They better hurry. They got 4 weeks." Yep. SC Football said that's ridiculous. I agree. It is. That's ridiculous. I mean, that sounds like something you'd have with some like local supplier for a little league team that they can't get their uniforms there in time. Not the reigning national champions in Division I baseball.
And like, I would get it if, at the last minute, Tennessee said, "Hey, we want to change things up. We want a new set." That's not what happened. Over a year ago, Nike announced they were changing everything. So, like, when those dudes showed up to campus in August, they had a fitting day, and Nike came and measured them and made sure everybody's stuff was custom to them. So, since August, they've been working on this and aren't going to be done.
Sam said, but Nike can have infinite different designs for Oregon. Yep, great point. Mr. Osborne said, hey, good to have you, Mr. Osborne. So I saw the CNBC segment, how Nike's been struggling. They have a new CEO. They've lost tons of market share. They're about to lose some Tennessee fans too. Let's see. Rhonda said, "Oh, can't you hear Vitello and what he's thinking about this?" Let's see. Eric, good to have you, buddy. Glad you're with us. Matt said maybe we should go back to Adidas. Yeah, I don't know about that either.
I will say Adidas did have the white uniform with the black pinstripes, with the sleeveless, with the black sleeves, and the black and orange hat. If we wanted to go back to that, I'm on board. That was my absolute favorite uniform they've ever done.
What was that in the 90s, that athletic uniform company? Athletic Bell or Sports Bell or something?
Sports Bell.
Sports Bell. Yeah. That's what we need to go back to. That was before Adidas. That was before that contract was signed. Let's see.
Sports Bell made good stuff, and I guarantee you they get it there on time.
They would get it there on time. Kevin said in the Georgia game, one of the announcers said a few times that the officials were letting the guys get physical with one another, and then said how he liked that. Officiating on the men's side probably isn't any better either. Sam said tonight on one end of the floor, the official anticipates the foul, which is 100% what happened when Sam Spencer got the charge call. And the other end of the court, a player is knocked down and no call. Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah.
Well, there was also Z Spearman, or Yeah, I think it was Z. Is there Z or no? It was Sarah Puckett. Sarah Puckett had a clean block, beautiful block, and they called a foul because they were anticipating a foul. They didn't think she could get the block, and it was like literally nothing touched but the ball.
Sandra said, "Who do you think has a good season for the baseball team?"
They're loaded, everybody. Alex Perry, it was announced yesterday or the day before Alex Perry's going to take the season off. He was the projected starter at first base, but the crazy thing is they have 4 other guys that could start at first base, and all of them would be good. So they have so much depth, it's ridiculous. They have 5 different guys they're trying to decide for the 3 weekend starters. Whichever 2 don't start are still going to be massive contributors, and they've got so much talent. I'm going to be fascinated to see how they get them all the reps they need to be successful, because they could legitimately play 18 to 20 guys every day and have no loss of talent. I mean, they are it's ridiculous how deep they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very excited to watch them play. There's a couple guys in particular that I want to see how they do. I want to see how Ariel Antigua plays this year. Hopefully he gets on the field more. It's going to be kind of hard with Gavin Klein now there. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they use all the guys.
I think they'll start Antigua at short. I think Gavin Killen will move to second, and Dean Curley will move to third. Especially now that Alex Perry's out, because that means first base is going to be a mixture of Dalton Bargo, Hunter High, Stone Lawless, but Stone's also going to be platooning behind the plate with Gavin Peebles. Levi Clark, true freshman, that I don't know how they're going to keep him off the field. Like, that kid just rakes. It is ridiculous how well that kid hits. Like I say, they have so many options. It's just insane.
Let's see. Like said, then they called a carrying foul on Igor. Yeah, they did call that was a weak call in my opinion. Kevin said they called that foul on Cade the other night. That was clean. Yeah, Cade went straight up. He did. There was contact with the body, but if he maintains verticality, then that is technically his space to occupy. And so, yeah, I agree that was clean. Sam said, seems like if Nike doesn't have uniforms ready on time, they should not be living up to the contract. Yeah, I mean, there's got to be some kind of like financial appeasement made for sure. I agree. SEC football said, will this year's baseball team be better than last year or better than 2022?
I think it's too early to say they'll be better. Are they more talented? Yes. This is the most talented roster Tony Vitello has ever had.
Okay, I have a new favorite comment of the night. Matt said maybe the Vols should get their uniforms from Front Runner and Hickson. They get uniforms on time. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, I know the owner, the Front Runner, great guy. Very good guy. I love that guy. Go get you some shoes fitted there. They do a good job. Front Runner, not a sponsor, but you could be. Let's see. Sanders said she's excited to see how Dean Curley plays this year. I'm excited to see where Dean Curley plays this year. I agree with Rustin. He's probably going to end up at third base, but we'll see what happens. Eric said, I'm excited to see this Tennessee baseball team play because they're loaded with talent, no drop off from starters to other guys. I think Tennessee can repeat as national champs. I 100% agree. I'm excited to see
AJ
come
down to play. How well. Yeah, it's going to come down to how well the pitching staff gels and how they figure out how they all work together. But there is no lack of ability, that's for sure.
Yep. I'm excited to see AJ get back out on the mound. Who knows what they could have done last year if he had been available too. It's crazy to think about. Sam said, okay, Sam mentioned the same thing that we were talking about earlier. He said, been reading that NCAA now expects NIL to be divided equally among student athletes. So that is the Department of Education is trying to classify NIL distribution to players as financial assistance from the university. If that's the case, then the financial assistance does have to be proportionately equal among female and male athletes to represent Title IX. However, Rustin made a fantastic point. NIL is not supposed to be connected to the university in any way. The collectives that represent each university, they are the ones that are, supposed to be paying this out. The financials are not supposed to be connected to the university at all. He also made a great point. If like, for example, Tess Darby right now, Weigels is, has an NIL deal with Tess Darby. Well, the Department of Education cannot tell Weigels who and where they can spend their own marketing budget. And so if they want to, have Tess Darby be their representative, that's their prerogative. Same thing with Zakai Ziegler. He's also in an NIL deal with Weigels right now. Weigels can do whatever in the world they want with their own marketing money. The Department of Education cannot tell them you have to spend your marketing money this way. They can't do that. So that's I expect this to be a whole lot of nothing in the long run, because the Department of Education literally cannot tell companies how to use their marketing budget. Let's see. Kevin said, can Vitello be baseball Saban? A few more opportunities for guys to get reps with baseball. Seems like one thing in football season with only 12 to 15 games.
His depth is definitely, go ahead.
I mean, if you're talking about, can he be a coach that creates a dynasty equivalent to what Saban created at Alabama, I'd say he's well on his way to doing so right now. Because when you look at really the last 4 seasons, but especially the last 3 seasons, Tennessee's been the premier program in college baseball.
Yeah.
Kevin said, thanks again, Old Walk Club. Absolutely. Let's see. Sanders said, who do y'all think will be the starting pitcher? I think AJ Russell is your game 1 starter.
It'll be interesting to see what they do. So Tony likes his Friday guy to be fiery. He wants to set a tone for the weekend. And Liam Doyle, the transfer from Ole Miss, who was their number 1 and who will probably be our number 1, is, for lack of a better description, Max Gilbert as a pitcher. I mean, Drew Gilbert as a pitcher. He's that same fiery mentality as Drew Gilbert and has no issue talking. He's a bit of a lunatic, and he has no issue talking to hitters while they're in the box. He will actively yell at people from the mound while they're in the box. So he's a little crazy. I could see Tony putting him as the Friday starter, just to set a tone for the weekend. I could also see Tony saying AJ Russell's gonna stay the Friday starter, so we go right, left, right, and throw Doyle on Saturday and Nate Snead on Sunday. So I could see that, just to keep that mix. But I could also see him saying, I don't care about mixing right, left, right. We're going to put our dog out there to start the weekend and let Liam Doyle talk trash to every person he wants to and create a tone for the weekend.
Hard to argue with any of that. I guarantee you one thing, you're going to see a whole lot of Andrew Binky this year. Vitello loves Andrew Binky, and he's going to put him out there a lot. I'd venture to guess you're going to see him coming out of the bullpen first, especially in long relief scenarios.
Got a lot of guys, though. I mean, so many people. Dylan Loy, Marcus Phillips, the Franklin kid that's throwing 100 now. There's a wealth of talent.
Let's see. Kevin
The Arvidsson kid that was the JUCO All-American that transferred in, he's in the mix to be a starter right now. A lot of options.
So I'm going to put Kevin's comments on the screen because what he said at the very end cracks me up. Kevin's having a little bit of fun joking around. He said, Fulmer never had to obey Title IX when we handed out bags back in the day. Oops. And he said, maybe that's what got Pruitt. I'm so sorry. That's why I like it. It's the last. I'm so sorry. That's pretty good. Matt said right, left, right is my guess. We'll see. That makes sense. It does make sense to do that, but who knows, man? Hopefully, my hope is that I'm not concerned about AJ Russell. I'm not concerned about Doyle. I want Nate Snead to have the kind of year that he's hopefully will have.
Austin Hundley, we forgot about him. He was kind of a forgotten arm last year, but that kid's good. Yeah. Like I say, Tanner Franklin's throwing 100 miles per hour right now. They've got Braden Sharp. That kid's good. Luke Payne. There's just so many guys. They got a lot of options.
Sam said he's excited to see speed on the base paths again. Absolutely. Totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin said, who's the pitching coach? Seems like good development up there. Pitchers, so many guys.
Frank Anderson. Living legend.
Widely regarded as one of the best pitching coaches in the country.
Ever. There are pro baseball organizations who have based their entire pitching plan around the teachings of Frank Anderson. He's a legend.
Fun time to be a Vols fan. You've got men's, women's basketball tearing it up, and with no pun intended, but the reigning national champions for baseball on deck. And so very, very exciting time to be a Vols fan. To the 171 people who are watching across all three platforms, we do appreciate you. SC Football said, do we have the best roster in the country talent-wise? It's hard to imagine a better one, but we're currently ranked 6th preseason. Why, I don't know, but that's what we're ranked. But we certainly do appreciate all of you for watching this evening. This has been a lot of fun. We will be back live again Sunday night at 9:00 right here on X or YouTube or Facebook, wherever you're watching. So we look forward to seeing all of you then. Kevin said, thanks, bros. Great to hang out with y'all. You too, Kevin. I hope it was all right watching us on the big screen. So hope you had a good time. SC Football said, so you guys have a good night. See you, buddy. Glad you're with us. Like he said, thanks, guys. Hey, we appreciate you. Like Cassandra said, good night, guys. Hope you have a great evening. So hopefully everybody joins us Sunday night. We're looking forward to another great show. Matt said, love my bros. Appreciate you, buddy. Hope you have a great evening. Ron said, great show. Thank you all. Thank you, Ron. We're glad you joined us. Carl, welcome. Hey, thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate you being here. Hope everybody has a great evening. Go Vols. And hang on, one more. Eric said Frank Anderson is in baseball like Rodney Gardner is on the football team, best in the nation. That's a pretty good analogy, actually, right there. I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I hope everybody has a great evening. Stay warm. Thankfully, it's not going to get super cold till after we see you again. So Sunday night, I'll tell everybody to stay warm then too. But have a great evening. Go Vols. Hope you have a great weekend too. Mississippi Vol, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. We'll see you all very, very soon.